Yo, 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 what's up, Screamers? Welcome to the Scream Scene. I'm Jody Dean. This is my co-host, Krista. Krista, what's going on?
Just taking a break from making spaghetti sandwiches.
Dude, spaghetti sandwiches are life. The picture she just sent me of these they're spaghetti hoagies. They're not even sandwiches. Like, it's a complete madness, but I love it. It looks good.
They were really good. First time I've ever made them. Just a little bit dry. Next time I'll just make extra sauce on the side. So
Nice. Drier than my grandmother. Guys, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about a new horror slasher called In a Violent Nature. Going back, when I first heard the name, I was like, I'm a title guy. I'm a graphic guy. So usually if it's got a good title and a good cover, I'm going to give it a chance. I heard the name In a Violent Nature, and then I seen some, I don't know if we want to call it poster-like images online, and it looked very interesting. Did you see anything about this film like early on?
I saw it a couple nights ago, actually, for the first time, and I started looking into it a little bit, and it was Australian, and we were talking about the not Wrong Turn, but Wolf Creek series, which was
Right.
Australian. So I got really excited that it was another Australian horror film.
See, I didn't even know that about it. I just know that months ago, I seen some first pictures, some first imagery of it, whatever you want to call it, and just a brief synopsis about the film. And I was like, well, this sounds interesting. There's a lot of films that during a movie, especially slashers, that they will have some killer perspective shots. But I haven't heard of anybody having an entire movie from the killer's perspective. And supposedly that's what makes this film interesting. Let me read this to you here. Here's what it says on IMDb. An ambient horror slasher that methodically depicts the enigmatic resurrection, rampage, and retribution of an undead monster in a remote wilderness in a violent nature. Wow. What a synopsis there. Pretty heavy stuff.
That sounds incredible to me. That's right up my alley. I actually read something too. So some people must have already seen it because I was reading an article where people are actually throwing up in the movie theater during the viewing.
I
So I'm
see.
wondering, did you? Yeah, I'm wondering if it's released overseas already. I don't know. Just
From what I understand, that happened at a film festival. The picture was showing at a film festival, and I heard that somebody vomited. Yeah, I seen that same story or parts of that same story out there. We're starting to hear this a lot more. Do you think that us horror filmmakers are taking things to a level that people have never seen? That's why this is starting to come up more, that more people are throwing up at the movie theaters?
if you want my honest opinion, I think it's BS and it's good marketing because they're trying to like raise hype about it. Like, unless it's super, super gory, I can't imagine it would make anybody throw up unless there was like flashing lights or something that would make you dizzy. But I wonder if it's just really good marketing because that got me on board. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're absolutely correct. That crossed my mind whenever, because we heard the same thing about Terrifier 2, right? I don't know if you remember, but like when Terrifier 2 was in theaters, there was a lot of publicity out there, a lot of stories that people were getting sick and leaving the theater. And then when I heard it this time, I'm like, did they try to recreate and emulate that as a good marketing scheme? I mean, I'm not mad at you, you know. You want people to see your film, people gotta eat. And it is kind of genius. I think at this point they've figured out, like, hey, if people vomit during your movie, then you know the news is probably going to pick it up. But it could be that it is that gory. I don't know.
I've not once seen anything that was too gory for me yet, but I'm a huge horror fan. So when I go to a movie, I've never, like, Paranormal Activity, they said everybody was so terrified that they were running out of the theaters, like what you had just mentioned. I've
Mhm.
never once experienced that any theater I've ever gone to. There was one I went to with my dad, and he made us leave the theater, but it was Piranha 3D. And that was because of the boobs.
Oh my god, I love Piranha 3D.
Yeah, but he felt uncomfortable having us there with him, so it wasn't a horror thing, but that's the only time I've ever left a theater. But
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta rewatch Piranha 3D. I forgot there was piranhas in it. Um, but whether it's good marketing genius or not, I am excited. An official poster also just released where this slasher, the In a Violent Nature slasher, has this big old, I don't know if it's like a meat hook or something. That's what it looks like, a big old meat hook just raised above his head. And it looks like he's getting ready to come down and just tear somebody apart. And there's some blood spatter just going all over the graphic here. One thing that's really unique about this killer, and by the way, writer director of this film, his name is Chris Nash, and I've reached out to him a few different times now, many different ways, and I haven't heard anything back, but I'm hoping to get an interview with him soon. So Chris, if you see this, let me get the interview. But one thing I'll say here is I do think that he's tried to come up with something unique, try to be different. I think we are at a point in horror right now to where if you really want to stick out and you want something to have longevity, if you want it to stay around, you have to do something a little original. And I'll say that the way this killer looks is very unique. I haven't ever seen a killer look like this, and I can't wait to see the film to really understand why he's in this getup. Is he just picking up things along the way, and this is what he came up with? I think that would kind of make sense. But another smart thing is it looks like to me that the whole film is out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, which I mean, explains a lot. It says in the synopsis, undead monster in a remote wilderness. It's also the most inexpensive way to make a film. You don't have to get a lot of permits. It's easy to access all kinds of woods and nobody even know that you're there. It's quiet. You don't have a lot of sound issues and stuff like that.
I'd have to say about his costume that he's in the poster is wearing, he's got to be disfigured somehow. There's got to be, like you said, there's got to be some type of backstory there. Either he was burned or sliced up or was just born looking funky. I'm curious to see what kind of story they have behind that as well, or if there's a prequel to him in any aspect.
See, you're very smart. I can tell right now that you have not seen the trailer for this. So the first thing I seen showed a little hint where you could see like at the back of his neck, the back of his head, and it did appear that something like that was going on. So it kind of reminded me of what Jason looks like under the mask. From that little moment that I got to see something of him there. But yeah, very unique costume. Shooting a film like this in the perspective of the killer is not a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hard thing to do as a filmmaker. So many options to make it look really good, really cinematic. And of course, with camera work, you can go in and out. So you can film everything from his perspective, close up PV, second person, third person view, but also you can film him from the victim's point of view during kills, and it still keeps it all in his perspective.
Do you think that he would have to hold, like, how would that work? Like, you being a director and all, how would you do it from his perspective? Would he have to hold the camera himself?
No, I mean, there probably would be shots that I would definitely get like that, but it would be so simple. It'd be like just following him along with the gimbal and going handheld. walking behind him, you know, medium shot, long distance shot, close-up shots behind him, over the shoulder, shooting shots from a distance of him moving through the woods and down pathways, and close-ups of him picking up weapons and things along the way. I mean, that's how I would do it. When I seen the trailer, I thought to myself, as a filmmaker, I could see where that could be very fun to film. It actually, like, I think I even probably got a few ideas from it. Like, I don't bite people's style, but like sometimes I'll see something that's inspiring and I'm like, oh, I could do a shot like that, but I could do it this way. So like you take a little piece of a good song, but you make it your own song. Not saying I'm gonna do that, but I, you know, like, it was that inspiring to me that I'm like, really smart, bro. Good job, Chris. Like, that was quite the thing to think of, because sometimes when you're writing these films, there's going to be a lot that's going to be filmed like everything else. The difference is what you're filming and who you're filming. Like, sometimes your film's going to be as good as what you have to work with. Locations, actors, you know, team, depending on if you work like that. You know, in some cases, you can have the best location in the world, you can have all the money in the world, but if your talent isn't good, or they're not following simple direction, like, your film could be a flop and it's not your fault. There's a lot of filmmakers that get hate and they get bad reviews and criticism. In all actuality, like, I'll watch their film and I'm like, you had a good script, you had good locations, good lighting, your shots were beautiful, but your talent wasn't delivering the script as good as I feel like they could do. So I know, like, you know, here's this guy, these writers, these directors, filmmakers, whatever, you know, they're over here getting these bad reviews, and it's not always their fault, you know? So, I mean, I've been in that situation before where I'm like working with somebody and I'm like, I wish that they would just be working a little bit better. And then there's days where I'm like, man, I could have done better. So if you have all the right elements, man, I mean, you can execute anything really well. I think that he had some good ideas here, and I think it's going to get a part two. I think it's going to be very successful.
I'm kind of curious to see how he pulls that killer view perspective off. I went, like, in my head, I picture it like from behind the mask, like you see like the eye holes peeping through, or like the Dead by Daylight version of the killer's perspective,
Ooh,
which is really kind of cool. But you don't really get to see the killer, just kind of what he's doing.
yeah,
That's kind of how I pictured it. But
I like that, man. You know, you mentioned Dead by Daylight, and this conversation keeps coming up within my friend circle in our household, where we're constantly seeing killers. We're like, man, I wish this was in Dead by Daylight. This is just another killer that I could definitely see, you know, being a skin here in the next few years. You could play with this. So I hope we get to learn, you know, a little bit about this guy in this movie, that it doesn't just pick up with some guy walking out disformed or burned, like you said, putting on a mask and just starts killing. I hope that there's something there that will tell us why he's where he is. Maybe understand his killerness a little bit. I love films like that. Like, you know, I don't always want to reference one of my films, but I love for there to be something that makes the killer tick. Because I mean, in all actuality, like, it, I'm 50-50 on it that there might not be a story there for this. I hope there is.
motive is huge. You have to have motive to make the story engaging. Unless it's just an all out, like, I don't know. I just don't enjoy it as much if there's no storyline. It makes a little less sense to me. Has he done other things? Do we know of anything like he's done? The director?
You know, I have not went down the Chris Nash rabbit hole. As soon as I seen the trailer, I reached out to him a few different times, and then I've checked on, you know, on my messages and things like that. No response. I can tell you right now, I'm already on here. Let me just see if anything pops up for this guy.
Oh, good, because I was Googling it too, because that'll give us an idea of his style somewhat.
Known for ABCs of Death 2.
Oh, that's a good one.
It says known for Life Changer. Yeah, looks like he's got quite the list here. It doesn't look like he's done a lot with special effects, it looks like. So that might be where he's really got to this point where he's like, because I know personally, like special effects people, man, when they're doing this stuff for people, in the back of their mind, they're like, dude, I could do the ultimate thing if it was my thing. So it looks like he's done quite a bit of stuff here, and I'm looking at it. It says on-set creature effects, special effects, special effects, special effects makeup. Yeah. So I mean, there might be a super high quality level of blood and gore in this movie, and maybe that's what's making people throw up when they're watching this at a film festival.
I wouldn't throw up. I'd just be like, I need more.
Hell yeah, yeah, bring it on, man. Yeah, when I watched Terrifier 2, I probably laughed about 80% of the way through. That's something that we notice we do with horror films that are really good. We laugh because kills are so exaggerated, and I mean it's hard to be serious when Art the Clown is, you know, like giggling, acting like he's laughing and joking around, being a quirky, you know, clown, and he's sawing some girl upside down. It's hard not to laugh, and it's crazy saying that out loud, but it is the truth. Sometimes we watch these horror films and we're just like snickering, like, oh, this is so absurd. You know, when Hatchet, you know, rips somebody's arm off, and there's just this blood just shooting halfway across the world.
That's great, though. I'm
Yeah.
cheering him on, you know, when he's got that girl upside down. It's on her. I'm like, yes. But it's like,
Epic scene for sure. You know what's funny is like the day before I seen something about people vomiting about this movie at the film festivals. I had just got done telling somebody, I was like, I feel like Mallet 2 might have people getting sick in some spots. And I won't go into it, but I'll just say that like I can see how, you know, we're horror lovers, we live it, we breathe it, we watch it all the time. There's not a lot that knocks us off our feet or really surprises us. We're looking for it, but I mean, I don't really hardly get shocked anymore. And I feel like when I was making this last film, I was trying to figure out things that would shock people, that would be memorable moments they would walk away with and say, oh my God, like I can't unsee that. So
nailed it.
I think so too. But then when I'm thinking about like, and I hear something like this, I'm like, I'm wondering what he did that people can't unsee, you know?
What you did. I have 110% confidence that nobody else has ever done what you did.
I don't think so either. And I love those moments. You know, I can say that about Damien with Terrifier 2. Like the bedroom scene, I have never seen that high quality to detail in a scene like that. I loved everything about it. Like the way that the blood was positioned in every inch of space, on the backboard, on the bed, on the clothing, on you know, like on the wall. It just, for me, I'm looking at it like a piece of art. Like, wow, dude, you're officially up there with other special effects makeup artists. The last thing I thought about was getting sick. I don't know.
You should check out. Have you seen Wrinkles the Clown? It's actually another really creepy clown movie where the special effects makeup is really good.
Ooh, I don't believe so. I do have a problem though. I've watched so many horror movies
It's hard to
that
pick.
yeah, I noticed the other day somebody was asking me had I seen this film and this film, and I said no, and they said go watch it, and I went and I ended up putting them on within the next few days, and I was watching them. I was like, oh yeah, I have seen this. I seen this. I seen this like 2 years ago. I seen this 6 months ago. So um, especially clown movies. There was a period where I was going down the clown rabbit hole, the clown hole for a while, and just running through everything. I was just tapping it all like Tyrone.
But there's a few good ones like Clown, just it's called Clown, and Wrinkles the Clown. Those are two of my other favorites outside of Terrifier. They're done really well. One of them, it was a birthday party where the guy put on the clown mask to dress up for his kid, and it possessed him. Like it became a part of who he was, the clown mask. It was actually a really good storyline.
I seen that too. I seen that actually more recently, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. Um, I'm looking at something here on IMDb, and it said the ABCs of Death under Chris Nash, but now I am not seeing anything about him on the ABCs of Death page. So I'm still scrolling, but I was wondering, since special effects is seems to be something he has his name on so much, that it was going to say under the film that he was on the special effects of the movie, but I don't see it, and I don't remember if I've seen this movie or not. Isn't that crazy?
It's not crazy. I know we've seen so many of them. It's hard to place a title with what you've seen. Same here. When you told me to go watch Rust Creek, I did actually go watch it, and then I felt like I had already seen it, but I've seen so many, it's just hard to place it.
Rust Creek, you know, it's very comparable and familiar when you watch it. It has a lot of elements of so many movies, and in a lot of cases, especially with slasher films, and that's why I do look forward to seeing In a Violent Nature, is it again, it's so hard to be original because how many times are we going to see somebody cut somebody's throat? How many times are we going to see somebody jab a knife through somebody's back, or you know, cut their scalp off? We've seen it all. So now it's come down to the way that they do it, where it happens, you know. If you're going to cut somebody's throat in a film now, you got to make blood to where it's shooting 15 feet in the air for, so people are like, man, when they cut that person's jugular, like, you know, it painted the whole room, you know, like just something absurd.
I remember with the Hostel movies, it was one of the first times I remember them seeing or them doing like shooting the whole like I'm going to cut your thumb off. Like they showed them sawing through the thumb. Usually they insinuate that it's happening and you didn't get to see the full effect, but they really took it to the next level with the torture.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I did a scene more recently where I had a guy getting his eyes gouged, and I had just watched a movie. I watched a movie 2 nights after we shot that scene where somebody was getting their eyes gouged, and then like a week later, I was watching another film where somebody's getting their eyes gouged, and every time it was like with the killer's thumbs. So it's been done a lot. It's just what makes your eye gouge unique. That's such a weird thing, but that's what it's come down to. So, you know, when it's coming to these horror films, in order to stick out, you really got to do something. You got to do something unique. I think that's one reason I love the Saw films, is because the way they're doing their kills are always so out of the box.
Right.
You know, Dan's doing it. I definitely, I did my best, tried my best to do it on my new film, Mallet 2, and it looks like Chris may have done it with In a Violent Nature. I think it's going to be one of the ones that we say this year is going to be very unique and original and authentic.
I'm with you. It's hard to get the uniqueness or the originality. And I just, when I think back to the hostel, the eye gouging, that there was an eye gouge scene there too, but the girl's eyeball popped out and it was hanging and like on a string and it was like wobbling back and forth. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a shock factor that I hadn't seen a lot of people do. So yeah, it takes talent and skill and uniqueness for sure.
I just found a critic review on Chris's movie. Kelly McClure from, is this Rotten Tomatoes? I think it is. The grossest, most elaborate kill scenes I've ever seen in my life all fit seamlessly, where in other films a similar hodgepodge could fall flat amidst the chaos. This feels classic and completely new all at once. Wow,
That sounds insane.
that was nice. Randy Meyer says Chris Rush's well shot but exceedingly gruesome gore fest mashes up all the slasher flick tropes for a bloody generation salute. Brian, it's a gore fest that is splendidly committed to the bit. It isn't easy, Cody says, to take in, but for audiences willing to lean into its sickening energy, it promises to be a horrifyingly memorable experience.
Damn.
It sounds like he's really touched the vein here, man. He's done something that's got them saying that this is pretty over the top. I love to hear that because, you know, that's one of my favorite things in horror films is to see where special effects makeup artists can make somebody's heart race a little bit faster. That's such a skill.
Yeah. Sounds like you've done it.
It's something to try to do, and it's, you know, I definitely when I see, there's certain films that I see and I'm like, wow, dude, you take that special effects makeup artist off of this film and it's not the same film. How important are they to these horror bodies of work? It's super important.
Do you see that and it makes you want to top what they're doing? Like some of your best favorite kill scenes? Like, are you trying to go above and beyond what they're doing?
No, I think yes and no. I like, I don't ever think about, like being in competition with people. But I will say, like, I do aspire to be maybe as great, or hope that I can do something just as compelling, maybe in my own way. Because I was just telling Anthony this earlier. I was saying, like, you know, I am not a master at special effects, but I do have this talent at making things work that shouldn't work, or knowing how to do it and say, okay, looking at this in real time, standing here, it doesn't work, but I back the camera up 6 feet. I'm going to do this or that with the color correction, and people will get the same effect as if I was a master. So I've learned how to sell illusion and being calculated to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
So I'm a master manipulator.
Well, you're very good at it. So the special effects, I'm excited to see this movie for sure, though. I really want to see what he's done. I mean, if I throw up, that'll be the top 5 probably for me.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think it is getting somewhat of a theater release. I seen, I don't know where it is now. I had it pulled up, but it looks like there is going to be an opportunity for people to go to a theater out there and see it. Maybe since they're getting all this publicity now and people are, you know, critics are coming forward, there's a good chance that the distribution company could put more money behind it and we could see it in more theaters. Um, you never know if something is going to go to a theater when you're talking about indie horror. Most of the time they're thinking about VOD, they're thinking about going straight to DVD or straight to streaming services, both of them usually. But if they see something is getting traction, then usually somebody comes forward and says, hey, this needs to be in movie theaters. We'll put up this X amount of dollars and see what happens. And I think this film might have just got the extra boost it needs to hit a few more theaters. So I hope it does go to theaters. I'd love to go see it and support what looks to be a good indie horror.
I never go to theaters anymore, but I would go if it was really something that intrigued me. And this does. I just, it's so expensive to go to the movie theaters anymore. I think
Yeah.
after COVID, I'm just used to watching everything from home now.
There's nothing, and I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say there's nothing worse than going to a movie theater, paying a lot of money and not enjoying the film. That hasn't happened in a while. It's been a long time, and I don't even want to say what movie it was because whether I like a movie or not, I hate trying to, with words, destroy something that somebody has put their heart and soul into and they were passionate about. I might not understand their passion, but it doesn't matter. Like I respect their passion. So I will just say that that is a bad experience, but thank God it hasn't happened in a long time. I see movies that I might rate lower than others, but I haven't seen a film that I was like, man, I wish I had that time of my life back, that hour and 20 minutes of my life back, or my $36, whatever. But
I spent $54 last time I went to the movies.
Damn.
Yep. And it was to see the Barbie. The Barbie movie was my sister. But they did have food and drinks, so
I think that if they did a Barbie horror slasher and Barbie was the slasher, I think it would be absolutely huge. I think that would have movie theaters packed out. I'm not a fan of Barbie. I didn't go and see the movie. Everybody around, we should go see it. We should go see it. I'm like, that's not even my world. Like, I can't even think, in that alternate universe there. But I'll just say that I could definitely see Barbie being a slasher. Could you?
oh my gosh, I've never even thought about it, but now that idea is there, it's never gonna go away. I don't know that Mattel would ever give the rights to somebody to do that, so they'd have to it would be a different version of a doll slasher, but
Yeah.
man, that would be incredible. They had that creepy Barbie in the movie, the Misfit Barbie or something, I think she was called. She was creepy.
I like the name. I like the name, Misfit Barbie. There we go, right there. You're all gonna die. I don't know. Probably wouldn't talk like that, but I can see it.
The high heel shoe.
The high heel chainsaw. I can see it now. Oh God. Yep. But hey, listen, Chris, get a hold of me, man. Hopefully, guys, we can get Chris Nash here on the channel and do a nice little interview and see what he was thinking about and what made him go in this direction and how long was this idea cooking. I really want to know, like, something I've been talking about a lot lately is script writing. You and I have talked about it on air, off air. It seems like it's the one thing, like when I sit down and do it, just flows effortlessly. It flows like water. It just pours out. I hate to walk away because it's just like it. I don't know. It's like the one thing, but I'm noticing with a lot of people I talk to, especially off air, like we sometimes I don't want to ask them their script writing process on air. I don't know why, but off air, I hear a lot of things like, man, I was working on this for 6 years and 6 months. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I don't know if I've ever spent 6 weeks writing a script, but there again, I guess I'm still considered fairly new to this. You think about 277 pages. How long would you think it would take to write a script like that?
277 pages. From
Yeah.
my perspective, it would take me years unless I was inspired by it, because I wrote a screenplay and it was like 50 pages and that took me a week. But then I turned it into a short story and I would say that took me 2 months. But now I've been working to turn it into a novel,
Mhm.
and this was it's been since 2014. But I did put it away. Like, I walked away from it for a little bit. So
Right.
I was uninspired after I had spent so much time with it. I fell out of love with it. But, I've sat down and written something that I really loved super fast if I'm inspired by it. So if I was in the mood, I could probably pull it off in a couple weeks. But
Yeah, I think that's it too. I maybe that's what's caught me a little bit with them saying, 6 months, 6 years is this one guy, and he's known for doing a lot of big movies. I won't name drop him. We talked for about 25 minutes after we got done doing a interview, and he was telling me, Jody, I spent 6.5 months writing this script. He said I didn't even leave my house. He said all I did was wake up and write, and I'm like, damn, bro, like that's crazy, like. I get it. I do know a lot of people that they want to take their time. I've seen people rewrite the same page 20 different times, and it ends up being the same thing that it was on day one.
that's what I do sometimes. I rewrite and delete, and I'll write something really fast and then spend more time with the edits, and it's a process.
Yes. Something I like to do, and this is off the topic of like in a violent nature, Chris. Sorry. But something I like to do is if it sounds good, something I've thought of, and it makes sense, I'll put it down. But whenever I get to the area, sometimes I do it when I'm scouting the location, or I do it on the day of. I'll walk around the location with my script and try and see everything. Sometimes people even see me talking to myself and they're like, "Are you okay?" Like I'm acting it out in my head. And if something doesn't look right or make sense, I fix it right there. It's just so much easier because sometimes things change when you get there anyway.
Mhm.
Sometimes somebody can look just like they do in your imagination, and you think you found the perfect person, but then they get there and the way they move around the scene is not how they moved in your head. And now all of a sudden it changes the energy, and you have to make quick decisions and say, as a director, you should be able to do it. A writer and a director, you should be able to say, okay, quick adjustments, nothing crazy, don't rewrite the whole thing, but like I definitely can see myself doing a lot more of that. I've already done it a few times, and it wasn't nothing stressful either. I think that a lot more writers are just, they need to be more confident maybe. And I get it, because when you put these things out, they live forever, but at least with filmmaking, the job's not done until you say cut.
And that's definitely an interesting perspective too. Like, you're talking about settings. The setting that I wrote for my horror, it's based in Louisiana and I've never been there. I just made it all up in my head. Like, I picture what I think Louisiana looks like, and their trees and the bayou, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's how I wrote my script. And I'm very setting heavy. Like, I'm very detailed with setting and creating atmosphere. And so I just create what I want it to be, but I don't have any intentions of, making it into a movie. So it's kind of opposite from how you're seeing a setting. Like you said, you go there and you experience it that way. It's interesting.
That is interesting. But I've also done that where there's places I haven't been to, and I'm kind of just spitballing it with thoughts, and I think that's smart. And wouldn't it be interesting though if you did happen to go there and you seen something and you're like, this, like, would it change everything for you, or would you stick with what you initially thought of? You know what I'm saying? Because like there's been times where I'm like, man, this script's so good, I'm not changing anything about it, and then I get there and I'm like, I'm changing this. So I don't know.
I'm stubborn.
But yeah, hey, listen, we are very excited for Chris Nash and In a Violent Nature. We're excited for so much that's coming out this year. Next weekend, The Strangers Chapter 1 goes to movie theaters across the world. Can't wait to see it. There's so many good things coming out this year. You know, Mount 2, Terrifier 3. We got Nosferatu coming out towards the end of the year. Robert Eggers did his revamptation of that, and he's one of my favorite filmmakers, definitely in the top 5. So it's going to be an interesting year for cinema. And what about you? Anything like you're really looking forward to this year?
Well, there was, and it's not a horror movie. It's actually Twister, the new Twister. And I just saw the trailer and I am so disappointed. It looks like they're remaking the first one. Like the same elements are there. And I thought it was like the daughter, it was supposed to be the daughter of Joe and whatever his name is. I can't think of it. But that's not even the case. It's like even some of the same words, like, oh, we got twins, like the twin tornadoes, like they say the exact same things. I was so excited for that. Now I'm just bummed.
I haven't seen it yet. Now I want to go see it, but I'm not against somebody remaking something. I'm not, like, I know a lot of people that are. I get it. I totally do, especially when it's a masterpiece. But sometimes the remakes are a masterpiece as well. However, we're talking Bill Paxton, and R.I.P. Bill, just
Hunt.
freaking phenomenal guy. I talk about him quite often. Just a hero, an amazing actor, and just such a it seemed like such a real guy. I never got to meet him, but like, from what I've seen, what I've heard people say, it's a sadness, man. But I'm interested to see the trailer and see what you're talking about. I've seen a lot of mixed emotions, like the day that it came out, which I think was yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, a couple days
ago. I seen a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, it looks so good." Then I seen a lot of people saying it looks terrible, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy." It's like 50-50. Either people love it or they hate it. So
it doesn't look terrible. I'm just disappointed because it's not, I don't think it's a remake. I think it's supposed to be a sequel. And from what I read last year, they're supposed to be related to the cast somehow. So I'm interested to see how they relate the girl that's in the movie. But it's like Dorothy is there again, like they're trying to, do the tornado stuff, and it seems like they've never gotten anywhere with it. It just looks like they're trying to redo it, even though it's supposed to be a sequel. So you'll see when you watch the trailer, you'll see what I'm talking about. But
yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And for anybody out there, man, if you haven't seen the trailer for In a Violent Nature, definitely check it out. Check out some of the other trailers for films that we may have spoke of, Twister, Terrifier 3. Actually, Terrifier 3's trailer has not dropped yet, but just check out anything we are ever talking about, guys. Just go give it a look. Support indie, support the studios, whoever's doing it. Doesn't matter, man. Motion pictures are such a great escape, and I am so thankful for movies. It's always been a passion of mine to watch them, and now to make them is just incredible. And that's why they're the topic of almost our every conversation here. So Krista, thank you so much. Anything you want to say to anybody out there?
We're always looking for new horror movies. So if you guys have anything we haven't mentioned yet that we need to see, let us know.
That's right. Let us know in the comments below. We love you guys so much. We post every week here on the Scream Scene. As you guys can tell, maybe, I don't know. I'm not in my actual office on this one, man. I'm on a little bit of a trip. I am in Paris. No, I'm just kidding. I'm fucking not in Paris, guys. Listen, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I love you. We'll see you in a few days. But until then, sweet nightmares.